So among the contenders, who do you guys think won the trade deadline? Now that Skip and Stephen A have made their cases, let us know your pick. Head to Twitter and vote either Cavs or Clippers, and our poll will reveal those results a little later in the show. So we just discussed the winners. Gentlemen, biggest loser at the trade deadline. Stephen A, we'll start with you.
Chicago Bulls. That's an easy one for me. And the reason why I say it is because they did nothing. And I think one of the things that they should have done was move Pau Gasol. The Chicago Bulls are not going anywhere this year. They're not going to compete for a championship, let alone win one. And when you consider that and you consider the value that Pau Gasol has, even at age 36 years of age, and the kind of asset he could have been for a team looking to potentially compete for a championship or looking to clear cap space, it's just mind-boggling to me why the Chicago Bulls stood pat and did absolutely positively nothing. I think you look at a Garth Foreman, I think you look at a John Paxson, individuals that I think have done a good job by and large throughout their tenure in Chicago. The whole friction kind of stuff that was going on between them and Tom Thibodeau. In the end, not to knock Fred Hoiberg, he may end up being a very, very good coach. He's in his first year. He's had good moments. But the adjustment period, because of the metamorphosis that has taken place, where you're thinking about styles from Tom Thibodeau to Fred Hoiberg, it's been a bit too extreme for these players to deal with. And then when you look at the nucleus of this roster, you got a Derrick Rose who's had moments where he's looked fantastic. He tells me he's getting healthier and healthier. You have a Jimmy Butler, okay, who openly questioned the heart, not just of the team, but the coach itself, although he told me personally things were getting better with them. But then you've got those two along with Pau Gasol and nothing else. Dunleavy, I mean, you know, is getting up there in age. He can shoot, but he's been injured. Mirotic, I mean, what has he done? He hasn't been as good as expected. Tony Snell hasn't been as good as he's expected. McDermott hasn't been as good as he was expected to be. So this is on Foreman and Paxson, because right now they were telling the world, you don't need Thibodeau. We're going to move in a different direction because we don't approve of the way Tom Thibodeau went about doing his thing. Well, Tom Thibodeau had these boys playing incredibly hard, and they were incredibly productive. Now they're in the midst of a 5-game losing streak for the first time since 2010. That didn't happen under Tom Thibodeau. That's not something that he was going to tolerate. So you look at this right now, and you're just saying in Chicago, with D. Rose and Butler, you should have done something rather than stand pat and act like you can legitimately compete. They can't. And to do absolutely nothing with the trading deadline having expired, to me, was a disappointment. And that's why I said they're the biggest loser right now.
I'm surprised at that take. I still like this Bulls team when it's healthy. But, you know, right now, obviously, there's no Jimmy Butler. There's no Mirotic. They're beat up. I can go on and on with injuries right down the line. They were about half a basketball team last night at Cleveland. But if you want to talk about Hoiberg versus Thibodeau, I get it. I mean, I can't argue with you, but that's not a trade deadline issue. I just like the makeup of this team. I thought going into the year that it was a big threat to Cleveland. I thought that Miami might be a bigger threat, and so far not so good on that account, but again, I wouldn't tear this Bulls team up. I mean, Pau Gasol still, I still think he's got a couple of really big years left in him. So is that what you're saying, to trade Pau now?
I was saying to trade Pau because Pau's talking about leaving. Now, he went on the record before the trading deadline and said that he might be interested in staying, but how they look over the last few months may determine it. But he's 36 years of age, Skip. He's not the future. He can play, but he has value, and his value may be greater for somebody else to take and for you to get requisite parts that you could build around in Chicago combined with Derrick Rose and Jimmy Butler. To act like Pau Gasol is potentially a long-term asset for your franchise, I think it's fool's gold, because I don't think Pau Gasol is going to stay there after this season. So why not move him now when you could get something for him?
If you want, I'd read those quotes too, and it indicated to me he might stay. He looks good to me. He looks healthy. He stays fit, stays slim.
But that's what I'm saying. That's why you move him, because I don't think he's going to stay. Well, that's what I'm saying.
Speaking of aging centers, although this one's beat up, the biggest loser to me is still Houston, because I just thought they needed to get out from under Dwight Howard by any means possible. And again, Mark Stein reported that 7 teams made a run at Dwight Howard, and Daryl Morey decided at the end of the day to hang on. It sounded like to me that Daryl Morey really didn't want to trade Dwight unless it was for a king's ransom, which virtually made Dwight injury-prone, getting up there in age, made him untradeable. So nobody's going to give up a high-quality player and a first-round pick for Dwight Howard right now when you don't know if you can keep him next year. So for the quote-unquote broken team, as J.B. Bickerstaff called it a couple of weeks back, to hang on to Dwight Howard as they hang on to the final playoff spot in the West, that's just a big loser to me. I thought Daryl would do something, some way, just to get out from under Dwight, clear those decks, and start to rebuild from there. If not, maybe at least hang on to the 8th spot without Dwight this year. But he apparently thinks they can fix it. Everybody still thinks they can fix Dwight. They can make it work.
Well, I'm not sure you can. I'm not sure you can fix him because I think he is what he is. But I think the biggest problem with Dwight Howard is twofold. Outside of the injuries, because without the injuries, the brother can still play. He's still one of the better players in the NBA. I don't think anybody can deny it. He's got two issues that are going on. He's a bit sensitive to the criticism. All right, there's no question about that. They all seem to be in this day and age. Don't even know what's happened to the modern day athlete. I mean, you sit up there and you stick up the joint in front of millions of people. Somebody points it out and they act like you're talking about their mama or something. I mean, it's ridiculous. All right. So that's a problem, number one. But number two, also, I think what comes into mind is the fact that I think that Kevin McHale said it best. And I don't know if we're going to talk about it later in the show.
We are. Yeah, we'll get into it.
So we'll get into all of that. But, wait till folks hear what Kevin McHale had to say about Dwight Howard and to put that in perspective. In the end, what it comes down to, Skip, is that you got to have a will to win. It's got to hurt you, and it's got to come across visibly as it hurting you much more to lose. And I don't know if that's the case with Dwight Howard right now, but I still say you could take that into consideration. In the end, when I look at Daryl Morey keeping Dwight Howard, there's still a chance that they could do some things because we underestimated them last year. And look at how far they advanced to the playoffs. They went to within 2 games of the NBA Finals. I don't think there's any question. The Chicago Bulls are not going anywhere. And Pau Gasol has value. And while he has value, it was a prime opportunity, in my opinion, for the Chicago Bulls to make a move that could have bettered their future. And I don't think they did it. I think they dropped the ball on this one.
All right, we'll leave it there, and we'll delve into that subject with Howard in just a bit. So, Skip, your winners, Clippers, losers, Houston, Stephen A. loser, of course, the Bulls, we were just talking, and winner, Cleveland. All right, hard turn here. We go off the field next on a very serious note. We hear Peyton Manning's side of the story involving sexual allegations at the University of Tennessee, and don't miss the strong support from his old boss. And we've got you guys covered on Instagram. Check out the complete rundown right now in the break. First Take will be back in just a minute. Stay with us.